now, right? It's a little safer, a little bit. Well, that's
couldn't get Alec Martinez to join up.
Well, could they get? I think that Robinson Cano has some time free.
Oh yeah, he does now.
But apparently it was for a diuretic.
Did you say?
Yes.
Well, it's Lasix, which is what makes they give horses to make them pee. When my first son was born, he wasn't voiding. Do you know what voiding means? Voiding is a fancy word in hospital talk for peeing. No. So he's born, he's not voiding. So they give him Lasix to make him void. Well, you just gave a newborn Lasix, so now his sodium level goes down to 0 because the newborn sodium level starts at 0. Now you just gave him Lasix, so we couldn't take our son. So he was cesarean. So the first 5 days he was there, we couldn't take him home with us. When the wife went on the 5th day, we had to come back the next day because he hadn't gotten his levels up because they give him Lasix. Another great job by Winthrop, but anyway.
NYU Winthrop.
Yeah, now it is.
Chris, it's so funny you said that because when I went to meet my niece for the first time a few weeks ago, I asked the doctor, I'm like, is she voiding regularly? And the nurse in the center goes, what? I'm like, is she voiding regularly? How is the baby doing? She goes, do you mean peeing? I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, you've got it. There's certain code words that she should have said to you. Oh, she should have instantly taken it like that's someone who works in the medical field, because you wouldn't say it otherwise, right? That's the way she should have reacted. She would be like, oh, you know the secret code? Sure, let me talk. It's the same thing. I can't tell you 80. This used to annoy my wife when we were dating, but which our first date was 30 years ago. This coming Sunday, the 20th, May 20th, 88 was our first date. 8 days before Craig Kimbrell was born, by the way. So to bring a call back to that, but we would go to restaurants, and I would say, because I hate vegetables, so I'd get a cheeseburger or whatever, I'd say 86 the lettuce, tomato, and onion, and 80% of the time the waiter or waitress would be like, "Do you work in a restaurant?" I'm like, well, yeah, I have worked several, because you knew 86, which is hilarious because the phrase 86 is just an expression to mean cut it out in anything. Oh, 86, that, get rid of that, whatever.
Yeah, it's not just for restaurants.
It's not just for restaurants, but I guess it was people who didn't know that. They were just, they were young or whatever, and they just thought that 86 actually came from Prohibition. If you Google the phrase 86, it came from Prohibition and speakeasies. But that was like, oh, do you work in restaurants? Every time he would say, do you work in restaurants? I'm like, yeah, I did, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it because it just is what you would say to get rid of something. If I'm throwing something out, 86 that, so.
Yeah, I mean, people are weird. It's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get back to your paper.
I will, but first I gotta tell you guys, gambling.
Gambling's legal at Bushwood.
What do you think about it?
Bad.
Gambling's legal at Bushwood.
Bad.
Who's yelling bad?
That's the sheep, Mark Tchaikovsky over there.
You know why it's bad?
The sheep? Why is it bad? Mark, tell me why it's bad.
Because we shouldn't be hooked on all this stuff. It should be available in small dosage, not so that everybody can be getting it. If everyone is able to get it, guess what happens? It has a drain on society.
If that's true, then why are cigarettes legal, and why is cigarette smoking lowest it's been in 30 years?
Well, it's not as available anymore. It's expensive.
I think health has gotten better. Number one, we're more into health, and number two, also the vape thing is taken strong as well.
Well, now people are having wet lungs.
That, then.
But I would say we've lowered.
People should not be told they can't gamble. You're not protecting people from gambling.
I'm not saying that.
It illegal.
I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying?
They shouldn't be as available.
Why shouldn't it be as available?
Because it's not good for you.
Well, to me, there's a reason why gambling was always illegal. It just it ruins families. It ruins your wallet.
Right.
And also it affects
your brain
outcome.
too.
It affects the outcome of games that you're watching, which should be for entertainment. And it's funny because number one, it's not going to. We've lowered the bar on everything. That doesn't even matter. It's like do whatever you want nowadays. Is what it is.
Exactly.
That's why I learned that in the '90s when I was so upset that the president was having a relationship with an intern, a CEO.
Exactly.
To where now I'm like, I don't care. At least he was with a porn star and he wasn't president yet. That's
of course, because that matters.
That's how you become. I mean, it's like once you allow something, it's like, all right, I just don't care anymore. All right, you got me. It's like,
I almost respect Bill Clinton more because he didn't in the Oval Office than I do.
Well, no, because that's harassment right there. That's an intern and a CEO. That's the at least if you're going to step out on your wife. Well, actually, not even then, because then you got to come home. Who who knows what you brought home, what diseases you brought in. But of course, she was at Gossip last week, by the way.
This is beyond the point. But the point is,
we've lowered things. We're going to legalize pot. We're going to legalize sports gambling. It's just, what can we do? We need.
Yes.
It's like putting ads on basketball uniforms. It's the whole the architecture behind home plate has every advertisement you could ever see. It's just what we do for revenue.
Can I give you
for the economy?
Right.
But can I give you a classic example, Mr. Ornberger?
Yes,
Look what opium did to the Chinese. It controlled their lives.
Oh, for God's sakes. It's not the same thing, Mark.
It can turn into the same thing.
Oh, stop it. Nobody is going to go religiously. Okay.
Well, you don't know that.
Have you ever
have you ever gone to OTB?
Yeah, that's the. I was going to say.
Have you ever gone to OTB? I've been to OTB.
Yeah.
And you know how many of the same people I see there? Every time I go to OTB.
Yeah, if you walk through Jake's 58, or if you walk through Atlantic City casinos, Bill Gates ain't there.
There are people who legitimately. Guys, I get it. There are people who legitimately have a problem with gambling. Do you really think that having laws against it is exactly?
I'm not saying that.
No,
what are you saying?
It should be regulated, not just available.
Right.
That's what the point of legalizing it is, so you can regulate it.
Yeah, but it's regulating in the sense that it's going to be too open, it seems like.
Well, what's going to happen is, like when Eisenhower, of all people, General Eisenhower, he warned about the military-industrial complex, that all of a sudden the military takes over everything, whether it be money, budget, just everything. Same thing happens here, where when they wanted to, the shootings that occurred at the high schools, all of a sudden you want to have armed guards. Oh, okay, so you get retired peace officers who are already on their pensions. Now they get more years adding to their pension. All of a sudden it becomes a whole complex.
No. See, this is the problem.
But it's the same thing that's going to happen here. All of a sudden now we're going to regulate it. What's happening? The guy Mondello is quitting as the GOP head of Nassau County because he's going to become the ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. His 72-year-old right-hand man, Cairo, who was convicted of something 20 years ago, of fraud and embezzlement, he's going to become the new head of, he used to be the head of Nassau County OTB. OTB is and so is the Board of Elections. They are political positions that they appoint guys who are hacks from the party to run things and to make a lot of money. So that's going to happen to this regulated gambling. We're going to have political hacks because it's going to become, to the victors go the spoils. So all of a sudden the county executive gets to appoint this guy in charge of that.
It's valuable to be an educated consumer in all things, anything, not just sports, not just these things. You just got to be an educated person. You have to know the people that you're going in with. And if you see this guy getting appointed to a job like that, you need to
no one says anything. Oyster Bay kicked out Venditto, right? Essentially. Right. Look who's the guys there now. They're not changing anything. Things aren't changing. The same things, no matter what party's in, whoever's in either side, whoever's in charge, no one speaks up and says, hey, this is going on. Let's stop it.
My 79-year-old grandmother said that what happened when they created the New York Lottery, wasn't it supposed to go towards education?
Yeah.
But how come our school taxes are going up every year? So what's going to happen when they do gambling? It's not going to make any difference. It's just go back into the politician's pocket.
Well, you would rather your school taxes not go up? You'd rather not have an educated group of people come out of high school?
Well, technically the lottery should defray the cost.
Right,
that's what they're supposed to go towards. No, it's not. It's not at all.
For God's sake.
But of course, none of your education money goes to teaching. It goes to salaries and pensions and benefits.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is not where the money's going; it's how it's
you have the Board of Education vote this week, right? You had the unions endorsing certain candidates. That means you're getting to pick theoretically your boss, right? Oh, if I was able to pick who I want to give me a raise, I'd pick that guy. It's like
right.
By the way,
right. Just like every American has to do when they vote for president. Did you vote for President Bush?
Well, Bush, that was many years ago.
I know. That's why I'm asking the question. Yeah. Did that work out? I'm just saying. I'm not saying you did or you didn't, but if you did, do you feel good about that vote? You can't be right every time you put a vote down.
No, and it also comes to do with who the candidates are, right? You're voting for the best option, not the best candidate.
I'm sorry, but sometimes you have a choice. South Park made a great reference once that sometimes all you have the choice between is a blank and a blank. I can't say either word on radio, but I think you all know what I'm trying to say.
And it's gone.
Exactly. So you don't have a good choice. This happened to be one of those years for the president. It happens to be one of those years for the teachers union also. So, Besides the point, back to the point of gambling in general, I have a question for you specifically, Chris. Do you think Vegas was furious about this decision?
I don't think it affects them.
Yeah, from what I've read, I don't think it affects Vegas because Vegas wins out on is an entertainment capital. These places that are going to have sports betting are going to be it might affect them on March Madness because everyone likes to make a trip to Vegas during March Madness for like that first week or whatever. But Vegas wins on entertainment. Vegas wins on weather. Vegas wins on a place to go, whether it be, what do they call that? Rehab, right? Yeah, the pool parties and stuff. So it's a destination resort type place, and they've already hit the ground running. They have the wonderful parlors, and they have the screens, and they have the residencies and everything. But these other ones are going to be byproducts. They're going to be places you wouldn't go anywhere, like Monmouth Park. No one goes to horse racing anymore, so they make these racinos, right? So it's not going to be the splendor of a Caesar's Palace or all the different places that are in Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, so I can't even tell you. But
oh my gosh, you have to go.
I don't gamble. I don't gamble at all ever. That's one I don't have that vice.
The shows.
Yeah. Just you
can see Cirque du Soleil. You can see Penn and Teller. I mean, there's so much you can do there.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So they're not reliant on their sport. In fact, one guy I know back in the day goes to Vegas to gamble on sports. Everyone else I know goes to Vegas goes for other reasons and not sports gambling.
Exactly. And do you think that's part of the reason that buying sports franchises into Vegas? I believe it was premeditated. I didn't see
it was to lower. It was the precursor to lower the bar to get them to say, "Oh, wait a second, Vegas is not so bad." Absolutely.
Thank you. Everybody I say that to thinks I'm crazy. I'm saying they saw this coming. They said,
exactly.
Let's get a hockey team in here. Let's get a minor league baseball team in here. Let's get a football team in here, and everybody will think. And
they all did a thing like the NBA, not the NBA. I'll go to the next. NFL has the Raiders, right? NHL has the Golden Knights. So they all had their foray. But the NBA guy, Adam Silver, he was the guy who said
was all about it.
Exactly. So once he was, so they did their thing. Their thing was bigger than any franchise going there from the other leagues. It was the commissioner raising his hand and saying, "We're ready for it. We'll make it happen."
And you know what? Good for him for being ready for it, because he was, and it's a shame he wasn't one of the first. He wasn't the first going in there, because he was the guy. He might have been the one to progenerate all of this after David Stern retired, because you remember how much David Stern not necessarily was against it, but was so hesitant against it. But Adam Silver is all about this, and don't make any mistake about it. You will see in the next 5 to 10 years a basketball team in Las Vegas.
That team. We know didn't the All-Star game happen in Vegas?
It happened this year or last year.
And bad things happened in there because the players in Vegas is a bad mix. The nightlife in Vegas is a bad mix.
You know what? It depends on the players. It depends on the character of guys you bring in. It does not depend on the league. It does not depend on.
Well, it's the hangers on, and it's.
What about the partnerships? Now that the Raiders are moving to Las Vegas. No, I'm saying is. What if one of these gentlemen's joints wants to sign on? I don't know, who's the running back that's there now? What's his name? Who unretired?
Unretired? Adrian Peterson?
No, who unretired to the Raiders?
Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch. What if he goes to Vegas and signs on to one of these gentlemen joints and said, "Well, come down"?
Well, there was a year, it was in the 80s, when Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle were doing commercials for an Atlantic City casino. They were banned from baseball, and they literally could have nothing to do with baseball because they signed on with these casinos. That's what the funny thing is curious logic. I see all these people saying now, "Hey, now that gambling is legal, why can't Pete Rose be?" It's like one has nothing to do with the other. Imagine, and people don't realize baseball. All right, let's imagine football, which only has 16 games. Let's imagine that Todd Bowles bets on the games, and then someone say, "Oh, but that only has 16 games, so that's even more." But if someone says, "Oh, well, Pete only bet on them to win," no, Pete didn't. When he bet on his team to win, there were games he never bet because he knew his team never was going to win. So what if Todd Bowles only bets certain games? That means he's not into win other games, or he doesn't think he can win in other games. And the other thing is, when Pete Rose, whenever a game where Bill Gullickson pitched pitched, whenever a game he was going to use Bill Gullickson, his relief pitcher for him, it would be a game he did not have money on. So that was him controlling the outcome of a game. So, it's like, he's not if he has money on a game, he was not using Bill Gullickson. If he does not have money on the game, he would use Bill Gullickson. So. Yeah. All right, Nick, we'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. I will be there. I will hopefully not be writing a paper, but if I am, I will be doing it in